and I got the PC stuff, so everything should be coming through correctly. I'm just going to take a look at the YouTube stream here to make sure that audio's coming through. That's another thing too. My streams, they're so like, they take no effort to set up because I never change anything. And I still, to this day, Elon, I still check my audio on YouTube because you never fucking know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Nah, man. Trust me, I get it. Trust me.
Let's see, let's change that. Let's delete. I don't know why one of the tags is dead cells. Okay. Alright, let me open up the link. Mute my microphone as I cough real quick. I think it's funny that I never ever cough ever in my life, and then when I sit in this chair,
You got to cough.
oh yeah,
I know.
all day.
I know the feeling.
It's coughing all day.
Trust me, I know the feeling.
Okay, so we are good. I'm gonna switch this over to at least my live section. I'm sitting here. I mean, I think I said this to you before. When it came to like my real talks, one of the things I wanted to do and was like my plan that I thought would be kind of cool is I would have like the lo-fi hip hop music playing in the back. And it's like the girls doing the drawing or whatever, and I was like, oh, listen to some chill beats while I just talk to like buddies about like some particular thing that has to do with gaming or whatnot. And over time, just my computer couldn't handle it because my computer's old, so it couldn't handle it, and so now I feel like I have to just chill on the PlayStation menu. Like, and I don't think people on stream can hear this, but when it does. Like, there's like crackling in my ear if like too much happens. So like when I opened your TikTok as an example, it was like mad crackling, just because there's like it's too intense to have open at once. But yeah, so I'm live at the moment. So if we want to talk about, and we'll probably reiterate a lot of things we were saying when we were offline. But I'm gonna be leaning back. I'm probably gonna grab something to drink here in a little bit. But we're gonna lean back, talk about gaming.
I'm leaning forward.
Leaning forward. I mean. It's funny because like with these kind of like real talks, obviously there's no real script. There's no like, oh hey, let's hit these bulleted points. I think overall, if there's somewhere that I feel like would be an interesting starting point to just like this discussion, because I know we said some of this stuff before. What made me want to make a video about this, and I've been sitting on this for a while. I've been talking with other people, like, you know, obviously off stream, and it has to do with what my thumbnail is, which is PS5 exclusives. I'm sitting on the screen with Oddworld right now, and it's that I think I told you this, or if I didn't tell you this, I'm sure you already know. I have a PS5.
I didn't know that. I've been trying to get one, man. Damn.
Yeah. So I have one of these things, and even though I have one, I haven't bought any of the PlayStation exclusive games for it.
You having buyer's remorse?
No, it's not exactly buyer's remorse. I think it's just that it's kind of what we were talking about beforehand, which is I don't think, and I'm on the PlayStation menu, so I can take a look on you know, the dashboard. I don't think a single one of these PlayStation 5 games are worth it. I mean, just looking at some of these off at a glance, Returnal, to me, not worth it. Demon's Souls, not worth it. And it's an exclusive to the I want to say like exclusives, as in not backwards compatible with the PS4. Ratchet and Clank. This one in particular jumps out at me because, oh, wait a minute. Didn't you say you played Endless Nightmare with some friends?
Endless Nightmare?
Okay, no? Okay, I just saw it on the dashboard, and I thought you said there was a game that you were playing with your friends.
No.
Okay.
Endless Nightmare? I don't think I've
No
ever
worries.
heard of that game.
No worries.
The Jake Hill and Josh A. Endless Nightmare lyrics?
No, it just says Endless Nightmare, but I got it mixed up with what games did you say you were playing with some friends? Like I said, like what are you playing anything lately? And you're like, oh, I'm playing this.
Yeah,
Among
there's
Us.
a game called First Class Trouble.
Okay.
Is what I've been playing.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Oh, is it Endless Nightmare 3D scary and creepy horror game? I'm pretty sure that's not
Maybe.
it.
Who cares? Oh, dang. Check it. It says Outbreak, Endless Nightmare, that's the name. So experience true horror in this co-op survival roguelike. Bro, I gotta be honest. I'm at my wit's end with roguelikes. a couple buddies hit me up separately because I played a crap ton of Dead Cells and Curse of the Dead Gods, and they both separately were like, "Oh, hey, are you gonna get Returnal?" And I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna get Returnal." For two reasons. One, it's a AAA game and it's $70. That's already I'm not getting it. Second, it's a roguelike. And I just I can't, dude. Like I mean, and I'm sure you know this about roguelikes, but it's like all a roguelike is running through a series of levels, expecting to get killed, and then using the currency or resource that you have acquired to make yourself a little bit stronger so that the next time you run through the level and get killed, you're a little bit stronger so you can run through the levels again to get killed again. That's the game. That's the whole point.
So that's not roguelikes though. That's a roguelite.
Whatever, dude. I mean, Metroidvania roguelike. I mean, you're telling me with this game that I'm looking at right here on the PS5, you're telling me that that's not what this is going to be?
Returnal?
No. This Endless Nightmares. It says experience true horror in this co-op survival horror roguelike. Like.
Oh, I don't know.
It's gonna for sure be that. Let's read it.
Here's what I can tell you though. You ever play a game called The Binding of Isaac?
No.
That's the greatest roguelike ever made.
Is that the one with a guy that like looks like a real human, but he like?
No.
Okay.
No, it looks like a little crying baby. You ever see the Bible Thumb people on Twitch?
Okay. Yeah, I do. Okay.
That's Isaac.
Okay.
That's Isaac.
Okay.
You ever play Enter the Gungeon?
I've seen people play that.
You ever play Nuclear Throne?
Mm-hmm.
Now those are some real roguelikes. But essentially, I think there's two different types of roguelikes, and I'm just stopping here because I want to make that distinction, and I'm sure I sound like an asshole trying to make this distinction, sure. But you have something like Binding of Isaac where you start the same every time.
Mm-hmm.
You have a character you pick, and then that character has their starting items, and that's it. And you just go. And then everything you pick up is randomized. And that's where the fun of a roguelike is you're trying your best to get to the end of the game in a ridiculously variable situation. And sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes the game gets completely broken and it's hilarious and you win so easily. And sometimes it don't.
Okay, so what's a roguelike?
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Enter the Gungeon's a little bit different rather, because the big variable is just the guns you pick up instead of like the actual like pickups and stuff. But something like Nuclear Throne, where each individual power-up is completely randomized. Or something like Dungeons of Dreadmore, where everything is super randomized, like enemies, enemy placement, rooms, etc., etc. Like that's like roguelike is just random video games.
Yeah, well, so
like, truly random video
so
games.
Then what were you saying was the difference between roguelike and roguelite?
I think a roguelite is where you can let me just I'm gonna Google this just to make sure I don't sound like an asshole.
Okay. I'm gonna Google too. Google. Do I have Google Chrome on this computer? I guess I do not.
If a character died, the player had to start the game completely over with none of the weapons or other upgrades they managed to collect along the way. Which one's that? The genre Rogue game describes a name from a fairly early video game also called Rogue. 1980 challenged players to retrieve an amulet from the end of a dungeon, but also featured permadeath. If a character died, the player had to start the game completely, blah blah blah. Many games of the years have borrowed the elements from Rogue, resulting in the creations of roguelike genre of games. There you go. But although roguelike has become a bit of a catch-all term, a 2008 development conference created the Berlin interpretation and defined roguelikes as having 8 specific design tenets: random map generation, permadeath, turn-based combat, oh well, there you go, grid-based movement, complexity to allow multiple solutions, non-modal so that all actions can be performed at any time, resource management, and hack and slash combat in order for a game to qualify as a roguelike based on the Berlin interpretation. The game must meet all 8 criteria. Okay, well there you go. All the games I described before, according to this Screen Rant article, so I don't even know if they're right. Is a rogue light, where it takes some concepts of those.
I mean, I'll say this much: if I hear the word rogue anything, I don't want to play it.
Okay.
Because
what about Robin Hood?
Wait, the Hood game?
Yeah.
I don't think that has.
There's a rogue in it. I'm sure.
You know what I mean. Speaking of, let's talk about that real quick, because I know I don't know if I'm gonna get heated again when I'm on stream. I'm not really against it. I just feel like I got a lot of it out. But that Hood game was so disappointing. Because
did you play it?
No, I didn't play it. Hell no, I didn't play it. But I want to explain to you, because I think it's easier to explain like this way as opposed to like through like text messaging or something. It was so disappointing because here's how this timeline went. Carlos hit me up. I fucking hate that guy. But Carlos hit me up and he goes, "Hey, are you gonna play that new Hood game that just got announced?" And I was like, "Let me look it up." So I look it up. And I was like, "Oh, I've seen this. It looks like discount Assassin's Creed." So I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this looks like garbage. But he said, "Let me know if you're down to play it, because we can squad up." And I was like, well, it looks like it has 8 players, so let me see if I can find some people. So I'm hitting up Brandon, I'm hitting up you, I'm hitting up Roddy, I'm hitting up, Thryden. I'm hitting up people to see who's all in on this thing. And at the same time, I'm like trying to find reviews about it, and I can't find any reviews. No one's talking about this on like different subreddits, and so I'm like, what? Like, why isn't anybody talking about this? And then from there, it became, well, I gotta do some more research. I ended up finding a handful of reviews and whatnot on YouTube, and that's when I found out it was 4v4, and it was the PvEVP. And I was thinking, man, I was kind of hoping this would be like the next Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, where it's like, it's just us versus the world. I don't want to fight against other people. And how I found out that there were other people to begin with was because I was on the subreddit for the game, and they were like, "Man, everybody keeps going for this build, and it's so difficult to beat." And I was like, wait. Wait, why would you be concerned with what other people are doing? And then that's how I knew it was against another team. And then I think one of the other forum threads I managed to find was just kind of saying that the developers have no intention of just making a PvE mode. And while this doesn't necessarily like dip into the subject of like PS5 exclusives and $70 games, which I think are trash, I don't know what it is with these developers, man. Like all of them, whether it's AAA or otherwise, that aren't specifically indie. I don't know what's with them that they can't like read the fucking room, and like make something that seems like audiences are clamoring for it. Who wanted PvP VE? Does anybody want that? When we were playing Ghost of Tsushima, did you hear anybody be like, "Man, I wish we could play against other people"? It's like,
I'm sure there were people bitching about it. Who's the developer for Hood?
Let's take a look.
Sumo Digital. Who dat?
Who dat? You know what I mean? Like, that seems, I mean, we could bring up Street Fighter in this as well, but that seems to happen so frequently, man, that like, there's like an idea and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is cool." And then the developers, "Oh, we're gonna release this thing," and then it's just like, it's like they take a complete left turn. It's like they can't, I don't know, maybe this goes back to what you were saying about like the whole leadership thing, with Cyberpunk.
Are these the same guys that did Curse of the Dead Gods?
Are they? I don't know, dude. Let me see. Who made Curse of the Dead Gods? I have that on my desktop. Who made this?
Is it Focus Home Interactive?
I'm looking. View product. It is.
There you go. They also did Greedfall, which is not a great game.
Oh man, I almost got Greedfall when it wasn't a PSN game.
You dodged the bullet,
I
sir.
know, man. I was so lucky. I looked into it later because it was like, dude, it was in the heart of the pandemic, right? Like lockdown was everywhere, and I was thinking I need something to play, and I saw Greedfall, and I was like, this looks pretty cool, and I didn't get it, but like just shortly after that, I mean, it may have been like a couple months, like I guess people started playing it because it's an older game, right? It's not like new. Like I felt like it was old last year.
I think so.
And so yeah, but reviews started to come out with it, and it just seemed like it wasn't very good. And
These are. Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to give you credit for something, because you said this a long time ago when you were at my place, that I got to give you credit for, because it's 100% true. You said one time, and I used to, and I was like this as a kid, which is like, when you used to like buy/get video games as a kid, all you did was you looked at the cover, and then you turned it over and you read a little bit on the back, and you're like, you know what? That looks pretty good. I don't know anything about this, but yeah, I know I know only this, so I'm gonna get this game, and that's what you played. And I feel like now I'm like the 100% polar opposite. If I don't know anything about a game, I'm worried, and I'm not gonna get it under any circumstance, because I just assume that it's gonna be trash and it's not gonna work. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, as far as like, do you still feel that way, that you have to know a lot about a game? Or do you feel like you can go into something blind and be like, listen, I don't know anything about this, I'm going to let it rock?
Dude, I like going as blind as possible, right? Because there is no way to learn about a game anymore that will not spoil the game or be biased in any way. And I'm one of those people who I realized this not too long ago, that like I don't like other people's opinion when it comes to video games. I think I just think differently, or I consume video games differently. But I feel like there are a lot of things that I've gotten burned on because I tried listening to someone else, or because I saw someone thought a certain way and I was like, hey, that seems like it works, and it just don't. So I'm someone who doesn't like knowing anything before I dive into something. Have I been burned on that because of it? Sure. But I feel like anytime I do find a game that's surprisingly, or I feel like anytime I do find a game that's good, it's a surprising thing, and it's such a wonderful thing because I'm kind of discovering it on my own terms, you know?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I feel like I can't do that. I mean,
that's fine. We live in a world where shit's expensive, and you know, money don't grow on trees, so I understand.
I think, and this is kind of like everything. I think will kind of like slide back into the main topic of the cost of gaming. But it's like, so I'm at a point right now, and obviously I'm gonna be very discreet with the way that I say this, but I'm at a point where right now I could buy all these fucking $70 games and it wouldn't do a dent to my finances. But it's so it's not necessarily the cost. It's like, I feel like I want the experience to be worth the amount of money that I put into it. And so I don't necessarily care if the game's $100. If I get $100 worth of an experience out of it, that would technically be fine for me. But, and this goes to something we were talking about earlier, we'll just kind of almost pretend like we didn't even say any of that stuff earlier. But like, I feel like the game experience isn't worth $70. It's not worth, it's barely worth $60. And there are some few examples that I could, if I go through my PlayStation games library, there are a handful of examples that I think are really worth it. Like, I'm going through right now. One that comes to mind immediately, and it's not because you brought this up, but one of the few games that I feel like, when I think about $60, $59.99, $64 with tax, I'm like, I got my money's worth out of this, was Monster Hunter World. I had 800 hours in that game. That was, I mean, on just the time alone, it was worth $60, obviously. But yeah, even long before, even when it was just you and I playing the game, and you were like showing me the ropes, I was like, $59.99? Yeah, of course. Like, it's fun. Like, there's a lot of monsters. It's a lot. It's very grindy, but like, there's a story here, kind of. You know, it worked. But then there's games where it's like it's $60 and it's Resident Evil 3 remake. It's $60 and it's Street Fighter 5. It's $60 and it's, I'm going through my list here. I mean, for what it's worth, and it's funny that I get so like riled up about this, because a lot of the games that I own, that I've managed to buy myself or got through PSN or anything, I've dodged a lot of those bullets. I don't have Avengers. I don't have Anthem. I don't have Cyberpunk. I dodged all these bullets for the same thing that I was talking about earlier. I just have to know something about the game. It's not about me getting burned. I feel like others get burned so badly with regards to these AAA games coming out, and they're absolute dog shit garbage, that what ends up happening is that they get burned and I hear about it. You know, like I'm reading Twitter and it's like, oh man, wouldn't you know it, like everybody bought this game and the embargo got lifted and it didn't work. And I'm like, oh, I guess I won't buy that. I don't care about the whole fix it later thing. That doesn't work for me. My money is, and I don't want to deal with the experience. I don't want to deal with like having to check forums, having to check certain YouTubers, pay attention to gaming news to see when the game that I spent $60 on is gonna work.
Yeah.
So I don't buy those. I get Cuphead. I mean, granted it wasn't $60, but I get Little Hope. I get Guacamelee, Until Dawn, Dead Cells. I know it didn't work for you, but I mean, I get games that work, and you can tell. Like it just seems like when they're not AAA, they're more likely to work. Not even the indie, really. Like, you know, it just seems that that's the case. So I barely think these games are worth $60. So the idea of $70, you got to be out of your fucking mind if you think that I'm going to pay you $70 for anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. And sorry, I'm currently moving around my room.
No worries.
I'm trying to plug in my PlayStation 4 that I haven't plugged in a minute. Because another game that's going to cost $60 on release, Guilty Gear Strive comes out. Or the beta's coming out tonight.
Not worth.
But well, I mean, here's the thing. Why do you think all of these games are kind of shitty, for lack of a better term, recently? Like, why do you think they're shitty? And why do you think we're having this experience?
Well, I think I know where you're going, but I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. I think they're shitty because whether it's developers, publishers, or executives, or however you want to slice it up, I think that it is these gaming studios that are... I think, personally, they're trying to release the bare minimum passable thing that they can just put out there and get people to buy. I don't think they're putting in the effort. I don't think they're making something that is truly like their life's work or something they're very passionate about. I think that they're just throwing out something and being like, maybe people won't notice that it's garbage under the hood, but by the time they do, we'll have their money. That's what I think.
Well, look, what is capitalism in its definition?
I don't know.
Selling something to make a profit and make more money than you spent to make that something. So, per rules of capitalism, it makes sense that you want to do the bare minimum and get the most out of what you're making, right? Where I was going with this is, what is the best way to put in the bare minimum and get the most out of something and taking people's money for the least amount of work? And that's remaking games, one.
Sure.
Two, building on a formula that has worked. So, like, what I mean is, like, somebody, and I'm gonna use this example right off the bat, and that's basically like my entire thesis for this whole conversation that we're about to have, is like, somebody looks at something like Dark Souls and see that people are super excited to play Dark Souls because it's Dark Souls, right? Because of the way they made the game, everything, the way it works, everybody's happy with it. So somebody, not necessarily a developer, but an executive, says, "Oh, Dark Souls made a lot of money. I want to make a Dark Souls. How do we make a Dark Souls?" That is essentially, I think, what every executive is thinking about.
Sure.
And that's the big pitfall here. No game pun intended, because Pitfall was a great game once upon a time. It still is, depending on who you ask.
Pitfall.
Yeah, Pitfall Harry. But it's like there's no incentive Yeah, there's no incentive for game makers to take risks anymore because their productions are so expensive and it's so scary for anybody getting involved that they have no choice but to take the safe option, to take what is working and try to do their version of it.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And it sucks because, you know, they're like, it's not necessarily the developer's fault, at least I don't think.
I mean, I understand your point on that, and not just to play the opposite side for the sake of the conversation. I don't know, man. I hear from some gaming circles, like I follow channels like Young Yeah or like Angry Joe or that kind of thing, and they're these huge. And maybe you're gonna be in this opinion camp as well, but this idea that like the developers can do no wrong, and no, it's not them and their ability to make video games. It's the publishers, it's the management, it's the executives that are like, these people know how to make a game, and they know when it's not good. Like, the executives aren't making the game. They're the people that are coming down with the mandates as far as like, it needs to be out by this time, it needs to potentially have this level of loot boxes or microtransactions in it. But I mean, they have to know when they're making it, like, this isn't good. Like, I mean, it's not like they push back against management and say, if we release it, it's going to be trash. But they have to know with what they're making, like, yeah, this isn't particularly good. Like, we know that regardless of when this comes out, if this comes out, it is going to be ill-received. And that never happens. We never figure that out until it gets backlash. Until it's a Battlefront 2 situation with pride and accomplishment with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Then suddenly it's like, oh, we didn't know. We tried our best to make the best game we could. No, you knew. You knew. And you just thought that nobody would notice until we did, and then now you have to backtrack and correct your game because of it. There's no way you can possibly make something and not know how garbage it is. And any creative work, I just don't think that that's possible. Sorry. Had to turn my phone off. No, Elon, did I lose you? I think I lost him.
What?
Uh-oh.
Who tripped over their computer power cable? Not me. Sorry.
No worries. That was essentially my tangent about the whole, like, I like I said, just to kind of quickly recap it, I don't necessarily feel the developers get off the hook, because we've seen situations, they know what they're making, and they're not making these games with a gun to their head per se. We've seen these gaming outlets that'll kind of defend the developers and then blame the publishers. But then if the developers move to a different publisher and everything's fine, it's like, is it still the developers or is it the publisher at that point?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at it this way. Who's fronting the bill?
I mean, the publishers.
And also, the other thing is, it doesn't necessarily. I don't necessarily mean developer versus publisher. I just mean company.
Sure.
Right, because it is a development company at the end of the day, right? So they do have to make money.
Yeah.
They want to make as much money as possible. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that's happening, that I think is happening, is again because video games. AAA titles aren't just one person working on a thing they like, or a small group of people working on a thing they like, right? It's an entire production. It's millions and millions of dollars. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't afford to take, from a company perspective, they can't afford to take risks and put out something that is new and innovative, but everybody hates. Right? They can't afford to put out like an ET.
Okay.
Let's look at it that way. Because that's the end of that company, if that's the case. And that's a terrifying kind of gamble right? It's like, oh, let's dump all this money into making this video game and then hope we make money. It's a video games, and actually I think most like art industries, like video game, movies, like they're a scary industry, because you're putting in all of this money, you're putting in all of this time, you're putting in all of this effort into this one thing and releasing it in hopes that people like it enough to go see it or experience it and give you money for it. Right? You're kind of just basically throwing your idea into the void and hoping to get something from it. So I kind of understand. It's like the big issue is the people who are making these decisions, the people who are what's the word? The people who are like leading these teams in hopes to make ventures successful. You know, the people who are the executives, like the CEOs, the COOs, they're the ones that are calling the shots. But because this is such a huge money deal, these CEOs probably have no idea how to make a video game, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't need to be a programmer. You don't need to be anything to be a CEO. You just need to know how to lead people. However, the big issue is, and this has been, I think, especially prevalent recently, leadership is something that's very difficult. And it seems like one of the big tenets of leadership is knowing when to take advice from someone, whether they're at an executive level or not. It's knowing to hear a developer say, hey, this isn't going to work, we need to do it this way, and say, okay, you're my developer, I hired you for a reason,
right,
this makes sense.
Yeah. Can I
the issue is that's not happening anymore. What's been happening recently, and this is a sign of bad leadership, is they say, I want it this way and I want it now. Fuck anything else.
Do you think that's not happening at all, truly? Do you think that across all the different studios that we can, I mean, I can go right back into the PlayStation menu and look. Do you think across all those games, there is nobody that's gone back against the company or the publisher, the executive, and been like, hey, you did hire us for a reason? Like, maybe not say it that way, but convey it in a way like, hey, if we do it that way, it will not work. You don't think anybody's tried that, or do you think that it's more that the executives just don't want to listen to that?
I think it's both. The executives don't want to listen, and because of the way the job market is, and because of the way kind of the world works right now, as workers, I would be terrified to go up to my boss and be like, hey, what we're doing is not working. I feel like I'd be fired instantly, and they'd be like, all right, we'll just get another person to do their job for less money.
It's funny you say that, because I'm about to have a meeting with my manager's manager about that exact thing tomorrow. It's pretty much going to be a conversation about like, hey, we're not doing well, nobody's working, and, you know, we need to start slapping people's bitches up. That's essentially what I'm going to say. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But no, I understand. I think it's a valid point that, like, it's difficult to push back against that. I just feel like, I mean,
well, and look at it this way too. With the video game industry, more likely than not, people are just in a contract. They're not even full-time employees. They're in a contract for just that one project.
Right.
So going against the grain like that, while it's great because it's like it kind of shows people like what's going right and what's not going so right, it's really bad because it, you know, at the end of the day, people are going to think, oh, we don't want to work with this guy because he's hard to work with, or we don't want to work with this person because they're hard to work with, right? Instead of it coming across as like, hey, I want to help, it's coming across as somebody being insubordinate, and it's shitty that that's the way it works. Like, for example, at my dad's company, I won't say which company it is, but they had like an all hands meeting, and the CEO was there. The CEO was giving a speech, and he's like, the CEO said something along the lines of, we care about what you guys are doing, so if you have any suggestions on how we can do something better, please come talk to me. My email is open, my office is open. So one person who knew my dad, or knows my dad, went. They said, hey, let's meet, I got some ideas. And he said, these things aren't working, this isn't going right, here's how we fix it. In about 3 weeks after that, the company had miraculously had to restructure that person's
Yeah.
Division, and that person got let go.
Sure.
You know, so it's like, yeah, they put on this face that's like, oh, we're open to communication, we're friendly, blah blah blah, but that's all fucking bullshit. All they want to do is collect their money, make the decisions that they think are right, and that's it. And it's shitty, and because it kind of creates like it creates like this weird division, which creates all of these problems that we're having with mismanagement, with poor treatment of workers, and with all this other stuff. And I think the video game industry is like the biggest proponent of like treating workers shittily. And on top of all this, imagine you try your best, you make this video game in spite of all of these fucking challenges. The game comes out shitty. It's not your fault. You can't do anything about it. You tried your best, and then you get harassed on social media on top of that. It's like, I would not be happy with anything. So, and look, is this the case for everything, for every video game company out there? Absolutely not. Right? The only the biggest example I think I can speak to is Cyberpunk, which we were talking about a little bit offline. Is like, that's exactly how this shit feels. It just feels like it was a huge mismanagement where they wanted to do so much and they just didn't have the timeline to do it, so they had to scale it back, and even when they started scaling back, it was already too late. So it's just one of those things, man. It seems like it's in the hands of a few who throw the rest under the bus. And it all comes down to money, man. Money talks. And if they're spending millions and millions of dollars, they're gonna get a CEO from something that's gonna call all the shots. And he's gonna say, hey, I like this game, but can we make it more like Dark Souls? I'm honestly, like, I don't know if there are any game developers out there listening to this or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that is a constant thing that is happening to developers. Like, whoever's meeting with an executive for a publisher or anything, you pitch their idea and they're like, hey, I love this. Can you make it more like blank? Can you make it more like Assassin's Creed? Can you make it more like Call of Duty? Can you make it more like Dark Souls? I think that's kind of been like the
well, I'm sure that's
mantra.
I'm sure that's happening because it's one of the reasons why every fucking game looks like Fortnite.
Yeah.
And whatever that art style is, claymation, Pixar, whatever.
Like the cell shading stuff, yeah.
Yeah, is it cell shading? It's like whatever that is. Like Overwatch did it, and it's not necessarily that Overwatch did it first, because like Team Fortress was before that. But whatever that look is, that looks like Overwatch, it's like
a cartoony.
Yeah, it's like a 3D animated cartoon. It's like Overwatch did it, and then it almost seemed like, okay, everybody do that. Everybody do that. It's just, can you do that but make it look like Overwatch? You know, we've seen that with even, you know, MOBAs, right? Can you make this? Okay, and I want to give you some credit and say, I'm pretty sure that exact, like, talking point comes up. Like, oh, hey, this looks really cool. I like what you got going on here. It seems great. You know, I really like it. I think this is going to really work. But is there any way we can make it a little bit more like blah, blah, blah? You know, I mean, we see that even like the movie industry, right? Like, that's like the thing that DC was getting raked over the coals with. Like, they were trying to copy Marvel. I'm sure that there are people in Warner Brothers that would probably have that exact line. Oh, this is cool. I like this Superman movie. I like what we're doing with Batman. Can we make it a little bit more like the Marvel stuff, though? And it's like, I mean, we can. And then it doesn't work. And then suddenly it's like, you know, DC's tone deaf. They don't know what they're doing. I'm sure that, to your point, that happens, which is one of the reasons why all these games look and play the same.
Exactly the same. Yep. Yeah, and it's like, and the thing that sucks is the people who are making the games, the people who are pitching the games, they're not pitching what comes out at the end of the day. I mean, I'm sure there are things that are different, or I'm sure there are situations that are different, but like, could you imagine you come up with this idea and they're like, hey, this is great, but let's make it more generic. That shit sucks.
That was a game that came out recently. I mean, there's a bunch that have come out recently, but there was something that was like a fleeting thought. It was something came through my head where, as you were saying that, where it was a style of game that they changed to fit like a certain genre, and it's like not like that at all. What was it? I feel like I need to like look through. It wasn't Crash, God of War, Bloodborne.
I mean, God of War did. Oh, I mean, I don't know what Corey and those guys were thinking with God of War, but I think God of War is like the biggest example of like, hey, let's take this IP we know, but can we make it more like Dark Souls? And like, God of War is a good game. Like, you know, I enjoyed playing it as much as I hate to admit it, because it's just Dark Souls with Kratos and his kid. But like, you know, it's feeling like, and I told you this, that we were gonna come to a point where I think either the AAA game industry is going to crash entirely, or it's going to look very bleak for a lot of people. We're getting to a point where everything is just going to be so generic and so the same that people are going to stop buying AAA games. I'm already doing that inadvertently.
When did you say? I need to go grab something to drink here in a second. But when did you say that you stopped? That you were like, you made the conscious decision, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't support this landscape. I'm not going to buy, like, because when you say AAA, you don't necessarily mean $60 games. It just means probably like Capcom or Activision or, you know, like when did you make that decision that you weren't going to support that kind of game anymore?
Honestly, with Cyberpunk being the exception.
Okay. Because
I thought things were different and then I got burned. Go figure. I think the last game I bought where and I guess this was even after I had made the decision that I didn't like AAA games. Well, I think, honestly, you might hate me for saying this, or you might, like, wince at me for saying this, but I think Ghost of Tsushima was a game that I bought, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. I regret spending $60 on this. I feel like...
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not enjoying this as much as I could. There were other games that I just straight up, like, hate bought, kind of. I don't even think that's even the right wording, but there were games where it was like... I didn't want to get them. I didn't want to spend the money, but at the end of the day, I was invested in the experience I had with previous games, so I might as well just finish it out.
What's one of those?
The Last of Us 2.
Okay.
That, I think, is the last AAA game I bought. Okay. Straight up. And the funny thing is, like, I enjoyed The Last of Us 2. Again, I didn't want to, but I did. And I played it in such a way that I played it my own way, where you play as another character. And have you played The Last of Us 2?
Nope.
Okay. Have you played the?
I mean, I know what happens, but no.
Okay.
I didn't play those.
Okay, so you play as a character named Abby. Halfway through the game, they like stop you from playing the storyline you were playing, and then they make you play as this other person. And I hated that so much, and I hated that character so much at the time that I didn't level up that character, so I died a lot. Like, I did not put a single piece of leveling into that character, so I made the game as difficult as possible, just so that just to feel like I'm making this character suffer a little bit more. But the thing that kind of really pissed me off about The Last of Us 2, it wasn't the story, because I think the storytelling was cool. Neil Druckmann, as much as I disagree with what he did with Uncharted 4, I think with The Last of Us he does have something, and it's something amazing. The storytelling's really good. I think the story he told is really good. But I honestly, and this is crazy for me to say this, I think The Last of Us 1 played better than The Last of Us 2.
Okay.
I hated the way The Last of Us 2 played. I had such a hard time with how The Last of Us 2 played. I remember playing The Last of Us 1 and had a blast. The gameplay felt really good. Last of Us 2 gameplay did not feel good. So it's like, yeah, it's like what you were saying. Like, yeah, I got the story, and I think that was the only thing that got me through the game. But it's like, why did it go like the gameplay of it just was so much shittier compared to what they had before. And I wish I had an answer to like why that felt that way, but I don't.
I'm looking through.
Like, I don't know if it was just if it's just my opinion. I don't know if it's a case of they were just working with the older engine that they used for The Last of Us 1 and they had issues with the new stuff that they were trying to put in. I don't fucking know. But I had a really hard time playing that game, man.
I mean, it could be just systems kind of changed slightly over time. I mean, with regards to something like Assassin's Creed, I mean, there are people, I don't know who these people are because I don't follow that, series anymore. But I mean, there were points where people would say like Assassin's Creed 2 played better than the later Assassin's Creed games, and that's not entirely like true. I mean, they do play a little bit better, but there's a bit more clunkiness with regards to like maybe there's a certain way that the developers want you to kind of play it. I'm looking through some games here. The last AAA game that I've got pulled up here on my screen is Immortals Phoenix Rising. That was the last AAA game that I played. It has that same issue of like it looks like the Disney, Pixar.
New version of Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, it's Breath of the Wild. That's what that game is. This game is just Greek Breath of the Wild. That's all that it is. I said that the whole time I was playing the game on stream. And I was just like, I don't have a Nintendo Switch. I wanted to play Breath of the Wild. I couldn't, and I don't want to give any money to Nintendo. So I got Greek Breath of the Wild. It plays exactly like that game. Everything, the shrines. I mean, the only thing that's really different is that, like, obviously, it takes place with, like, Greek gods. But it's more or less the same game. And that kind of goes back to a point that you were saying a little bit earlier about, like, this was probably Ubisoft being like, damn, Breath of the Wild is so popular. Like, can we get our Breath of the Wild? And this is it. Genshin Impact is just anime Breath of the Wild. And I mean, I'll say this because I kind of keep thinking about like the topic, or not really the topic per se, but like the title of the stream, which is the cost of gaming. I personally think that for me, I got here much later than I feel other people like yourself. It's not even that it's too high, but it's that we could probably make a whole nother video about the executives taking too much money, right? CEOs taking millions, and then people making it don't really get a cut of that through profit sharing or whatever. I don't think that any game is worth $70. And I have a PlayStation 5, and I'm looking through the PlayStation games. Go back to the PlayStation Store. Go back down to PlayStation 5. And the one I want to come back to this because I've talked to different friends about this. I keep coming to this game because this game makes me grit my teeth at how ridiculous it is. And it's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I'm gonna try so hard not to get mad because it is insanity to me that Insomniac really believes that they're gonna throw a $70. And I get when I say Insomniac, I really mean PlayStation, right? But like that this game is worth $70. This game looks exactly like the other Ratchet and Clank game, and it's funny because when I say something like that, I know that if somebody pulled up like a 4K video of the Ratchet and Clank State of Play, and then they pulled up the 2016 gameplay, they'd be like, "What do you mean, Justin? Look, it's ray tracing on Clank. It looks way better." Okay, fair enough. It looks better, as it should. One game came out in 2016. The other one's not out yet, right? It should look better. But $10 more? It's not worth $70. The other Ratchet and Clank game I got for free through PlayStation. And if I didn't get it for free, that game to me would have been... You couldn't have got me in the door for less than... or for more than $40. If it was a $29.99 game, I'd have been like, okay, that's perfect. $40, I'll be like, ooh, I don't know if I like Ratchet and Clank that much. But, so now you're releasing a whole new game. There's more enemies on screen. Clank has ray tracing on him now. And it's $70. I mean, you can go down the list. Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls is just a PS3 game. I get that it looks better. But $70? Returnal. $70. AAA. And here's the thing about Returnal, too. I don't know if you plan on playing this game. I'm not going to spoil it here on stream. I probably should, because I think it's garbage. But the thing to me is I watched all the cutscenes for Returnal. I wanted to know what the story was. Because, to me, the thing that was different from Returnal than any other roguelike, whatever, game that I had played, or that I was interested in, was the fact that this one was AAA, which means they were going to take the same thing that they were doing with roguelikes, and they were going to be like, what would happen if we took a roguelike, but threw a AAA budget at it? And it's like, okay, now I'm interested. The story for this game, I know that it's on me to be like, come on, Justin, roguelikes don't have stories. That story was garbage. And I feel like once I saw that game completed, like its story, and I get that the gameplay is where it's supposed to shine, But once I saw the ending of that game, I was thinking, if I had paid $69.99 for that game and got that, I would have crushed something. So, Demon Souls is out. Returnal's out. Want to talk about Godfall? Want to talk about what else is $70 in this crazy list? I mean, who's playing Godfall? Does anybody even remember Godfall, the game?
I was only excited about it because it was developed in Unreal 5. But then I saw gameplay of it and I was like, meh.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks really pretty, but
It looks really. I mean, before I got a PlayStation 5, I watched. I went over. I told you this. I went over to Carlos's place and he showed me the game, and I was like, everything looks like laminated. Like everybody's so shiny. You know, like I'm looking through the list right now of. I mean, it's almost like a travesty with the way that they're marketing this, because I'm in the all PS5 games. Mortal Kombat 11 is not a PS5 game. Fortnite is not a PS5 game. Let's talk about Devil May Cry 5. How, I wouldn't say unfair, but how ridiculous was it that this game came out on the PS5? I don't know if it came out on the PS4 as well. I don't remember. I guess it would have had to, because I think the stipulation is that if it's a $70 game, then it's either Call of Duty with Activision, or EA, sorry. Oh, no, Activision makes Call of Duty.
Activision, yeah.
Yeah. It's either Call of Duty or it's an exclusive PlayStation game. But I don't know, like it's funny, like before I got my PS5 and Carlos showed me all of his PS5 games and I was playing with the 3D Pulse headset and all that stuff, I really was like, I don't know what I was expecting, dude, but I was expecting more. I don't know what, but for $70 games, I'm looking through the list right now, man. It's Demon Souls. I don't know if this. I guess this game's out. Call of Duty. What's the full name of this?
Cold War?
Yeah, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Okay, so I don't know if that really counts, but fuck it, it's $70. So Call of Duty, Demon Souls, Godfall. That's 3. As far as them being exclusive to the next gen, I guess Call of Duty is still backwards compatible, right? There's a Cold War for the PS4, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so that one doesn't count. Demon's Souls is a PS3 game. I'm taking that one off. So right now we have Godfall. That's 1.
Well, I will say this though, the remake the effort that went into the remake is really good.
Yeah, and I don't want to say $70 good?
Yeah.
$70?
And it is $70. You're right. But I just wanted to say that.
I know.
It is a decent.
It's funny because like I'm looking at it.
They just copied and pasted.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No. It's like
a lot of work.
I feel like there has to be, and again, you know, when you threw out the definition of capitalism earlier, it's exactly what it is. But at the same time, I think as a consumer, as someone who's going to spend my money, hard or earned or not, as someone who's going to spend my money, I want to feel like I'm getting a $74 experience out of that. And I don't feel like I can get, and I know it's very personal when I say I, me. I don't feel as though, even just removing me from the equation, I don't feel like that game is a $74 experience. Not just for me, just in general. Because it already came out. This exact game already came out for the PS3. Godfall, we can make an argument for. What else is $70? I'm looking through. And this is the PS5 section, by the way.
Sounds like there's not a lot. Yeah.
I mean, and what's also, I mean, we didn't really talk about this as well, but the other thing is, this is the second year of this console, and I don't know if anybody would make the argument, well, you know, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X came out in, you know, like October of last year, November of last year, like, you know, it was towards the end of the year. That's not how this works. This is the second calendar year of this console being out, and obviously I don't know how dev kits work, but these developers were not given the PlayStation 5 dev kit, I guess, enough ahead of time that they could develop something from the ground up. So I can't believe any developer when they say, our game was built from the ground up on the PS5 if it's coming out on the PS4. It's like, well, it wasn't. It was built on the PS4, and then you're utilizing the resources you now have available to you from the PS5 to kind of improve where you can. Which is why I think Astrobot is the best game on the PS5, and I'm sticking to that because it was built with the PS5 in mind. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't say much. I have an alert on my browser that tells me when something gets restocked. And today, Best Buy got a restock of PlayStation 4s. I got the ring. I clicked the button. It was already sold out. So I can't even get my hands on the goddamn thing. So I can't really speak.
I would recommend the one that I used. I'm gonna see if I can hit up this website right now. I used the Sony Direct website.
Yeah, every time I log in there, it's like a 3-hour wait, and then they sell out, and then the wait ends because they sold out.
As far as I know, it's kind of funny to be having this conversation now, because the last time I think we had this is like around the time we were playing Little Hope, but there was I don't follow it anymore, but there was an account on Twitter that kind of posts when.
Was it Wario64?
No, it was called, I think, PS5 Stock Alerts was the name, and because I found that one to be a little bit more reliable, and whenever there was a queue that would pop up for the direct.playstation website, that account would post the like just notification, like, hey, there's a queue, and I had the page for the digital one kind of saved already. And so it popped up, and it was exactly what you said. You know, there were times when I would be waiting in line, and then it would just like sell out, you know, before the page even loaded. But there was one instance where I hit the website after, you know, many times of trying. There was one time I hit the website as early as I felt like I saw the notification, and there were people who were there ahead of time before me. Like, I saw the notification like in 3 minutes. There were people that were already in there before the account even sent out the notification, and they were still waiting by the time I checked out. So I'm pretty sure it's random. It just selects a random person and moves them to a certain spot. So
I mean, look, if anything, trying to get a PlayStation 5 got me very prepared for getting a vaccine here in Texas.
Oh yeah, so. I didn't have to do that, man. I didn't have to. No, I was.
Oh, man.
The steps you sent me, they weren't really confusing, but I literally thought like, okay, I'll do that. And then I think like after we stopped texting, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait until everybody else gets their goddamn vaccine, and then I'll just roll up in there like 2 weeks after the pandemic's over, being like, yo, y'all ain't got any of them vaccines around? Like, I'm trying to give me one of them, you know. So I didn't do the line thing.
Dude, that shit was crazy. But that's the thing. It's like after I got my first dose, I was in the clear. But dude, it's such a it's exactly the same as the experience of trying to get a PlayStation 5. It's like, well, I think the only exception is that they told us when the queue started. They were like, hey, Monday, 6:30 p.m. be on the thing. I was like, all right. And then you're just sitting there waiting for the countdown, and then when the countdown ends for the pre-queue and the actual queue starts, they randomly put you in line. So it's like, fuck, am I gonna get an opportunity to get this vaccine today, or am I gonna sit here and wait for 3 hours just to find out they ain't got no more? So if anything, I will say that it prepared me for me to get the vaccine.
Well, hey, I want to say a couple more things here about something, because as I'm looking at this list of games, something that you said that is kind of ringing in my brain right now, and I don't know if you completed your entire thought when you said it, which was when I asked, like, when was the last AAA game that you bought, and what did you say that game was?
Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2. Okay.
Well, the last AAA game I bought was Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But the last AAA game I bought without, or like, that I meant to buy knowing what I was getting into was The Last of Us.
Okay, because I think that one's the one you said you hate bought.
Yeah, I hate bought it because like I liked the first Last of Us, and I didn't want to pay money for The Last of Us 2 or whatever, but I bought it. So I was like, all right, might as well just play it, enjoy what I can, see what everybody's upset about. And the thing everybody was upset about was just about the fucking story, which was fine. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me.
Well, hold on.
Notices that the games play bad. I don't understand.
Well, hold on. So I don't make it about Last of Us per se, but one of the things I wanted to kind of ask you about was you said that you kind of, I don't think you used the word imploding, but you were saying like there's going to be like dark times as far as the AAA landscape because they're all kind of making the same thing. So
yeah.
So what is, not that I'm like holding you to this per se, I'm just curious, what do you feel like your prediction is with regards to the next gen era as it relates to AAAs and especially the $70 games? Do you think they're going to hold? Do you think people are going to keep buying them, or do you think that, you know, we might end up in situations where these things don't sell very well because they're $70?
Well, so the opinion I have as far as every game feeling so homogenized that people are going to stop buying them. I just want to point this out there. David Jaffe agrees with me. David Jaffe is the person who originally made Twisted Metal, and he made the original God of War. So he knows his shit. And he streams on Twitch and YouTube, and he was having an open discussion exactly about this, and I said it, and he goes, "Hey, you're like one of 3 people that have this opinion. I'm one of them, and I agree with you." And I was like, sick. Thanks, David Jaffe. So I just want to... I'm a person who loves video games, right? I grew up... video games taught me English, and they were how I'm able to speak English today. I just want to... I'm looking at my Steam list right now, and I want to see... This is since March. Actually, since even before March. These are the games I've been playing on Steam.
You can show it in Discord?
Latest game...
For a second.
I'm just going to name them here.
Oh, okay.
Latest game I bought. Everhood. Guess how much I paid for it?
$3.
I'm going to the Steam page right now. $9.99.
Okay.
Had a blast. Amazing game. Was super fun. Super great. I had a grand old time.
Okay.
Game before that. It's a game called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
Nice. Turnip
Boy Commits Tax Evasion.
All right.
Bought that game for 5 smackaroos. Had a blast. Committed tax evasion. It was great. Before that, was a game. Actually, it wasn't even a game. It was an update or a DLC to a game called The Binding of Isaac. It's called The Binding of Isaac Repentance. Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is the base game, 15 smackaroos on Steam right now. And also, Binding of Isaac is one of my favorite games made ever. It's a roguelite, and it is straight up amazing. It has an amazing story, and it's very, very well done.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, I would suggest you at least try to get your hands on it and try playing it. If the gameplay doesn't vibe, then let it go.
Is that a PC thing?
It's on PC and it's also on PlayStation, yeah.
Okay.
You should be able to get Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Before that, played a little game called First Class Trouble, which is made by Good vs. Evil. And I spent 10 smackaroos on it. Amazing game. It's like one of those whodunit games, right? Like Among Us. Super fun game. Had a blast. Before that, Fall Guys.
Okay. Well, you bought Fall Guys?
Game of the Year 2020. Because on the computer version, you have to spend $20 on Steam. I am more than happy to spend $20, $40 on this fucking game because it's so good.
Wait, Fall Guys? Game ever made. Are you still playing it?
Yes. They just had their season 4.5 update. Free update. Like, the season 4 update included 7 new games in it. This new season includes even more new shit in it. It's fucking amazing. So this game is my favorite thing.
Oh, so you're still in there? All right. I haven't jumped back in. I haven't since season 1.
Dude, you should play it. It's completely different. It's so amazing. And the one thing that really bugs me is just the fact that the netcode is ass. But
that was weird.
I think
I guess maybe on PC it is. Cause when did we play on PS4? Was it you and me?
I don't know. But the way this game handles netcode is it's kind of like a Call of Duty type of thing where the place that you see someone else at is not the place that they're at presently. So when you try to grab someone, it feels like you have to be right up their ass to grab them, but other people can grab you from like a mile away.
Okay.
So that gets really frustrating. And it's also like whenever you bump into someone, they don't move, but other people bump into you and you go flying. It gets a little frustrating after a while. That's my one complaint with that game. Everything else, fucking amazing. I love that game. Favorite game to date. I spent $20 on it, and best $20 I've ever spent. I'm still playing it. I'm still having a blast.
All right, that's cool.
Before that, Loop Hero, another Devolver Digital game. Spent what, like $10 on this thing? How much was it? I'm opening up the store page. $15. Amazing game. Super innovative. This is one of the Loop Hero is one of those extreme examples of doing so much with so little. That game is fucking amazing.
Well, let me ask you this: did you? I mean, I almost am like reluctant to bring up this person as far as like a source, a reputable source, because I think this person is for the most part bullshit. But did you listen to or hear Eris's opinion when it came to gaming like nowadays, like whether it's PS5 or anything?
No, what do you say?
I mean, there's a couple things that he pointed out. One, the reason why I say he's not a reputable source is because he just shit talks all the time. That's his whole MO. It's like everything that he says is just like either, you know, oh, you stupid stoner. But I mean, it's very clear he's playing into his streamer persona. So it's like, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to catch a moment where he's truly just like, okay, I'm going to drop the persona and this is how I really feel about whatever I'm talking about. It's very rare that happens. But as it relates to AAA games, he was just like gaming sucks nowadays. And I remember when he said that, I'm not saying that this is the moment where he dropped the persona, but when he said that, he was playing, I don't know, obviously remember what he's playing, but I think that he was playing some older game. You know, he's played like Where's Waldo and stuff like that. And there was a moment where he was playing an older game and he just goes like, dude, you guys, gaming today sucks. And he just said it just like that. He gave no other context. He was just like, it just sucks. It's terrible. It sucks. And it kind of hit me in that moment. I was like, I was talking to Roddy about this too. And I was like, you know what? It does suck.
Maris, it do suck. Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And Roddy kind of disagreed with me because, you know, whatever. I'll get into that another time. But he kind of disagreed with me, you know, the idea that like it, you know, games always have kind of sucked in a way. You're just kind of like looking back on it and thinking like, oh yeah, Super Ghouls and Ghosts was great. But at least fucking Super Ghouls and Ghosts worked. But the point is that when Eris said that, he was like, you know, games are just terrible. They just suck. And then the other time is when I was watching him play Returnal, and he was talking about something similar to like my experience with like the you know, paying for something and getting a certain dollar amount experience out of it. And he was saying like, this game is fun, it's really good, he likes it. But then the question came up like, it's $70, and he was just like, ugh. You know, and I would almost, I think it'd be better if you haven't listened to it to probably, I mean, don't go looking for it per se, but if you happen to come across his opinion, it'll be better than me trying to relay it. But overall, what he was kind of saying is, you know, a couple points were like, first off, what else are you going to play? It's like the only game on the PS5, which, not that I'm here to roast Eris, but I'm just thinking, that's a shitty justification to do anything, right? Like, what else are you going to do? You might as well spend your money on this thing you don't fucking want, because there's nothing else.
That's his job. That's his
yeah,
job.
But yeah, I know, and that's what I was saying. Like, it's difficult sometimes to see those moments where he's not putting on the persona, because he's also the same person that was talking about the whole MVCI thing about like, why would you buy this? Because it's trash, right? And you shouldn't buy it just to be part of the FGC because this supports the FGC. You should get it because it's good, not because somebody wants you to get it or that they told you to get it. That's a very stark contrast to the opinion of Returnal, which is like, well, you have a PS5, assuming that you have one. What else are you gonna play? It's like, not fucking Returnal. Because it's not worth $70. But yeah, the idea that you're coming from a streamer who's got the subs and the donations, yeah, it's easy to be like, I mean, what else is there to play? I'll play this. Because $70 is nothing, you know. But I just kind of thought I'd throw that out there as far as like something that I remember him saying that, you know, I weirdly agree with. It's just kind of tricky because he's very rarely not playing in his character. Not to kind of just repeat the same stuff I've been saying over and over, but I don't think that any of the games are worth $70. I don't really want the gaming industry or the AAA landscape to fail per se, but
It's gonna happen.
I mean, you know, listen, you've been right
I
on
don't want it to.
you've been right on a couple things in the past with regards to this, but here's what I'll say just to kind of almost have the other opinion. Not entirely devil's advocate, but here's what I think. I think that whether it's $70 games, it's loot boxes, it's microtransactions, whatever, however you want to look at the change in AAA, I think that people will continue to spend money on it because they're just going to acclimate. I think the average consumer is going to acclimate to whatever is thrown at them. And if Call of Duty costs $80, they'll buy it. If Call of Duty comes with less features than it did last time, they'll buy it because that's just what they do. They just spend money on things. And no amount of... And the only way I really could see somebody truly changing their ways is... And like it affecting things widespread, kind of like to what you're talking about, where the AAA landscape kind of, you know, starts to implode on itself. The only way I could really see that changing is if people as individuals began to recognize that they spent X amount of money on something and they didn't get the value that they thought they were going to get out of it. And I think right now, whatever their value is, they feel they're getting that, so they'll keep spending it. But the moment you pay $70 for a game and it doesn't turn on is probably when somebody will be like, hey, I spent $70 on this and it didn't work. Not it kind of works. Not, hey, you know, like if you can get past all these bugs, then it's a great game underneath. But it like legit, like I paid my money for this thing and it either didn't do what I wanted or it didn't give me the experience that was worth the money I put into it. And I think you need individuals to experience that, and those individuals start to determine that there's a collective of people who've also experienced that, and then they like vote with their wallets, as it were, that way. I don't think it's going to change otherwise. I don't think, you know, us making streams about it, I don't think people whining and complaining about like EA and Activision and what Ubisoft's doing with microtransactions. I don't think that stuff's going to help because people are getting their value out of it. And once they realize that they're not getting their value out of it is when they're going to like step away.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, and I think to a degree, the gaming industry is kind of shifting in a way that I didn't expect it to, and here's how. First, did you see the latest announcement that Ubisoft put out? Or not announcement, but like the latest thing that they've said?
Ubisoft, about the free-to-play games that they're moving to?
They're focusing on high-quality free-to-play games.
Sure. Why not?
Look at Call of Duty Warzone, high-quality free-to-play game.
Genshin Impact.
Genshin Impact, high-quality free-to-play game. So the value of something being played is no longer a gamble when things are free-to-play, right? Now, that's both a positive and a negative, right? Because sometimes free-to-play games are not that much fun to play because you wind up spending more than $70 on a game. Especially when you get like super duper into it. But the other thing too is I want to use Returnal as an example of games kind of breaking the mold, right? I mean, yeah, it looks eerily similar to every other game because it's got like the gritty brown / gray black color palette, but it's a AAA roguelite. Like, that's not something that we've seen done before, and the fact that Sony was like, all right, yeah, just go ahead, let's try and take this risk, is not what I expected them to do, to be honest. So if things keep going that same way, I think what I was saying about things becoming homogenized is not going to happen. However, one thing I did want to bring up is one thing I did hear Eris say about Returnal that I laughed at, but I also empathized with quite a lot, is when he said something along the lines of, man, good thing this game is good, right? Because he was enjoying the game. So he goes, man, good thing this game was good, because if it wasn't, I was gonna be pissed, or whatever he says. So
yeah,
it's, with the price increase, things are like, everybody's gonna think twice about buying a video game, sure. But at the same time, I have a feeling that I don't know if it's gonna get to the point where triple, or not necessarily triple A titles, but like new titles are just not going to be doing the best that they will do right at launch, or if things are going to move more towards what Xbox is doing with their subscription service. Right, because Xbox Game Pass, day one, you can play games right when they release, and you're just paying a fucking subscription.
I guess it's not all AAA that I recently learned. It's not like every single video game that ever comes out
Right.
free on Game Pass. But there are ones that, you know, unlike, I don't know who I was talking to or talking about when we were saying like read the room. I think it was Hood, but like it seems that in a lot of cases, Xbox has a pretty good like barometer for being like, oh, this is something that will probably like the Outriders. Outriders is one that, like, you know, obviously it's a brand new IP. It's a looter shooter, you know.
It's Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, but
I looked at it and I was like, hey, that's Destiny.
Yeah,
like, it's like, to me that still falls into like the homogenized trap, though. Sadly,
it does. And man, that was another one where like I played the beta. I didn't stream it, but I played the beta on with my buddy Carlos, and he asked me several times, "Are you gonna play this when it comes out?" And I was like, we'll see. You know, because it was Destiny. It was Destiny, and I already played Destiny before. I don't want to play Destiny again. You know, and I think I made a tweet about it. I said, oh, you know, I was like, Outriders is like Destiny meets, like, it was like I said all the games, right? I was like, Destiny meets Division meets Gears of War meets whatever, because it had the cover shooting. You know, it looked like Division with like how like run down everything was. But then when that game came out, like people were getting booted from the server, like the HUD was gone and all this shit, and I was just like, and I didn't buy it. I mean, I probably wasn't going to anyway. But the moment that stuff came out, I was just like, all right. And now I honestly hadn't thought about Outriders until I just brought it up. I have no interest, you know. So there's something to be said for Business 101 there too, right? You want to have a product that actually works. That way people will, you know, interact with it, embrace it, and then word of mouth will spread to other people. And yeah, the reverse can also be true in the sense that, you know, if something isn't good, then it could negatively impact, you know, your profit and revenue, because now people aren't going to talk about it with others. But I do think that Xbox is doing a great job. You know, sometimes I wonder, because I don't really play video games, dude. It sounds weird to kind of finally let that come out of my mouth. I mean, I play from time to time, but like I don't really play stuff because it's not worth my time at the moment. The AAA landscape isn't. But I don't know how PlayStation could answer what Xbox is doing without doing the exact same thing. I mean, that's why they get paid the big bucks, I suppose. But I don't know if you've thought about it. I don't think that there's anything that PlayStation could announce and be like, here's our answer to Xbox Game Pass, and it not be any PlayStation exclusive, of which they recently said that they have 25 in the pipeline, which means, to your point, that's like 25 Uncharted's, God of War's, Horizons. You know, they have 25 of those. Unless you make those free day one, when you already established, like, you were going to do $70, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make this work. I think that they just lost this one. You know, I think this one goes to Xbox, and if you want to buy $70 games, go for it. And if you don't, you know, something that I think gaming companies will tout, we see this all the time, is that when there is an accolade to, like, announce, they'll do so. If they sell 10 million units of whatever, they'll say it. If it was the fastest selling blah, 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 they'll announce it. I don't recall any instance of any PlayStation exclusive game being like, this was the best sold, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen. Have you?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
I mean, yeah.
Exclusives don't tend to be fast, like big selling.
Well, I mean, just like any sort of announcements, like when, like as an example, when PlayStation sold the amount of units, you know, PlayStation was like, this is how many units we sold. We sold faster than the PlayStation 4. And then when Ghost of Tsushima's multiplayer came out, like Sucker Punch, was quick to say like, oh, this is how many pictures had been taken, you know, in the game, or this is how many players have beaten, you know, the first co-op dungeon or whatever. Like, it's like anytime you can kind of tout like, oh, we have 1 billion miles walked in this video game across all the players on cross-platform. Like, anytime you can like hype up your numbers, they will. And across Godfall, Demon's Souls, I just haven't seen any anything from anyone that's just like Demon Souls, like, yo, hey, you guys came out of the woodwork and really supported this game, you know, even though it was the first PlayStation 3, you know, From Software game. We're glad that people have shown back up in waves to play. No, it was like it came out and it was crushingly difficult, and then people moved on.
Well, I think the reason why is also there's a lot of like behind the scenes shit that happened. Like the company that made that remake got bought out by Blizzard, so I think like immediately after that game was done, they're like,
wait, Blue Point?
No, not Blue Point, but
Vicarious Visions, because they didn't do Demon Souls. Blue Point did Demon Souls.
Did they not?
No, Blue Point did Crash Bandicoot, and they did Warcraft 3 Reforged. I'm sorry, Blue Point did Shadow of the Colossus, and they did Demon Souls.
Oh, you're right. I'm confusing. Vicarious Visions are the people that did Tony Hawk.
Yes.
And Crash Bandicoot.
And they did Warcraft 3 Reforged as well, which is
No,
fun.
they did not.
No, who did Warcraft 3 Reforged?
That was Blizzard internal, and that's why it went tits up.
I thought it was Vicarious Visions. Okay.
No.
All right.
Yeah, because they got Vicarious Visions got bought out because World of Warcraft Reforged was or not World of Warcraft.
Well,
but
Warcraft 3
Reforged was a giant steaming pile of dookie,
Man.
as they say.
Man, people
But,
really hated that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like they were like, "Oh, we're remaking your favorite game," and then it turned out like shit. I'd be upset too. And it's funny because you look at Diablo, the new Diablo game that's coming out.
Immortal or 4?
Yeah, no, the remake.
Oh,
Sorry,
2,
not the
right?
new one.
Diablo
The remake.
2, yeah.
Dude, that game looks. I bought it. That was. I guess that's the last AAA game I bought. Because I saw it and like Diablo 2 was one of those games that kind of defined my childhood. So I saw it and I was like, well, guess I'm buying it. And it was like $30. It wasn't even a full price thing.
Well, you know, going back to something that we talked about earlier, and this isn't necessarily to put you on the spot, but I'm looking at this game on PlayStation at the moment called It Takes Two. And I remember I saw an article about how the developer, you know, the fuck the Oscars guy, how he was talking about how EA was so like supportive and like open to like the things that he wanted to do with his game, and that was how he got A Way Out, and they were just as supportive and encouraging when he made It Takes Two, and now he's working on a third project. And it's like, if EA, and then you had, what was the studio that did Star Wars Fallen Order?
Oh, Star Wars Battlefield? Oh,
No,
Fallen
no.
Order. That's Respawn.
Respawn, right? If EA is so bad, if management is so bad and the executives are like, oh, hey, make us a game that looks like blah, 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 why isn't that they just do that to everybody? It's like, if they're so bad, that's why, to me, I mean, I'm not saying I'm right, but this is why, to me, I feel like the developers are just, maybe not just as much, but they hold some blame too. Like, it can't just be executives and management, because sometimes the management and executive stays the same and the developers change. And From Software worked with Activision. It's Activision, dude. They're the worst video game company of all time. But From Software worked with them to make Sekiro, and that won Game of the Year. But, you know, From Software also made Dark Souls. You know, they also made Bloodborne, you know, with Bandai Namco and Sony. So it's like, it's not always the executives. And I know you're not saying it's not always, but I'm kind of, I guess, speaking more towards sometimes when I see those articles or when I see those videos where people are just like, the publishers and the executives and the management, they're not letting developers do what works. It's like, fuck that. The developers are making the game and it's not working. And then, so go ahead.
Let me rebuttal that with this, because I bought and played Jedi Fallen Order. And hey, guess what it feels like?
I mean, it feels like everything else.
It feels like it's interesting because
it's Star Wars Dark Souls. I know.
Yeah, it is Star Wars Dark Souls, but at least it feels different enough and it looks different enough, right?
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the shit out of that game because they did try to make things a specific way, and it does feel exactly like they were going for a specific thing, and then someone was like, "Can you make it more like Dark Souls?"
Okay, I'll agree. It does feel like that.
It Takes Two with this guy is a completely different situation, and here's why. how much do you think they EA invested in something like Star Wars Battlefront 2?
No, everything. I mean, it's Star Wars.
Yeah. How much do you think they invested in It Takes Two?
Okay, so I get you. So your point being that because they have more investment in one thing over the other, that they're going to be a lot more strict over what's put in it.
Yes. So they know that with It Takes Two, they essentially invested in an indie studio. And with an indie studio, they can afford to take risks. So if a game bombs, they're like, oh, we didn't lose $100 million. We lost a couple thousand. Shucks, that sucks. But hey, we can still make another game tomorrow. With something like Jedi Fallen Order, they're not going to be like, hey, you guys do whatever you want. No, they're going to want to put their fucking dirty ass fingers in the pie. Because they want to make sure that their $100 million they just invested in hiring the voice actor that was the Joker in Gotham, which is very, like, I have some really weird cognitive dissonance playing that game because I see the dude that played the Joker, but he's the good guy, and it's not, you know.
Okay.
But so, and you can tell that the game is not quite what it you can tell that the game is not quite what they wanted to do, because there are some moments that the game gets really janky. There are some moments where things just don't feel right. I love the game. I played it. I had a blast with it. And that was another game I kind of hate bought, because everybody's like, oh, finally we get a Dark Souls Star Wars, and it's like, well, fuck you. Who wanted that? Not me. But I bought it, and I had fun with it, you know. And there was a lot of stuff that happened in the game that was like, whoa, that was sweet. It never happened again. You could tell they wanted to use it more because they put a lot of time into the shit that happened, but it never happened again. You know why? Executive was like, hey, Dark Souls. But with something like It Takes Two, it's like, hey, here's $20,000 just to put our name on it, whatever.
I mean, it's a solid argument. I feel like, I mean, we could be here all day exchanging examples. We won't do that. But like I said, for me personally, I feel like I don't personally feel like the developers are, you know, infallible. Like, what do you mean, man? We're just trying to make it. I don't
disagree.
Yeah, I think that I mean, obviously the split is not even 50-50. It, you know, I wouldn't even put a percentage on it. I think that your point makes sense. That, hey, we are paying you guys to make this game, and given that, we're going to have a pretty good say into what goes into it. I completely understand that. I feel like for me, it just kind of seems like there are some times when people will sorry, I was kind of getting a little distracted. Somebody in the chat, Luis from the chat. Hey, what's going on, man? Just real quick, since he typed in the chat, Luis is actually from the first season of the Gauntlet, which was, I guess
Gauntlet in the house.
Yeah, I guess it was in 2014 or 13, one of those 2 years. I want to say
that was when I was on it.
Oh
2013
shit!
was when I was on it, yeah.
Okay, so probably like 2012.
I don't know.
I don't know either. So, yeah, no, those are some good times. I was actually just thinking about that the other day. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but it's good to see you, man. Know that things are going all right. But yeah, I think just something I wanted to wrap up with, if I could, and then I'll let you get ready to play some Guilty Gear, is, you know, just coming back again to the subject. You know, I guess it sounds like we were in agreement with this even before we I started streaming, which was you know, I guess
today.
Yeah, they are objectively worse than they've ever been.
Oh, do you want another example of
real quick? And they're not worth $70. Now, again, I'm not afraid at all of telling somebody like what to do. You know, do whatever you want to do in your life, but they're objectively not worth $70. It's not even like, well, you know, I get my $70 worth out of it. Okay, that's cool. If you can buy Demon Souls and you feel like you got a $70 experience out of it, that's fine. I'm not invalidating that. That being said, you just got robbed. That's what I would tell somebody like that. If they're like, no, I totally feel like, okay, cool. Like, live the life that you want to live, but also understand you got scammed. And if you want to go through your life getting scammed, then keep buying whatever $70 game comes out. because that's the landscape of gaming. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to give you one more example of a publisher sticking their fingers into the pie and kind of ruining what the original intent for a game was. You ever hear of a game called Dragon Age?
I have.
So, Dragon Age is made by a company called BioWare.
BioWare, yeah.
So, this company was in the middle of making, I don't know exactly which Dragon Age it was, but they were in the middle of making a Dragon Age game, and they get acquired by EA.
Wait.
What's the first thing EA does?
Cancels it?
No. They said, hey, this BioWare game, or this Dragon Age game, it's pretty cool, but since you're part of EA now, you have to use the Frostbite engine on it, so get those assets moved over. Yeah, and that fucked the game apart. You know, it's all because they spent all this money to create the Frostbite engine, and they're like, hey, gotta use our shit now, and it just fucked the game entirely. Like, just completely fucked it. So, it's another example of an executive being like, hey, this seems like we need to use our own stuff, and they're just fucking up everybody. So,
well, let me ask you this. This hasn't really, I don't want this to sound too tinfoil hat, but something that I think about when I see these, you know, exposés that come out about, you know, whatever game, or, you know, Jason Schreier gets something for Bloomberg that he reports on. Something I thought about is, obviously, the people that go to Jason Schreier across the different video game companies, they go to him with this information. He'll have some breaking news, you know, report or something, and it kind of blows, you know, the video game industry up for a little bit, right? And obviously, the people that are going to him they're going to him confidentially, but they are people in the video game industry, and like oftentimes in, you know, developers. I feel like I'm kind of surprised, if I can use that word. I feel like I'm surprised that obviously an employee can't speak disparagingly about their business, but I'm kind of surprised that we don't see more of that happen. You know, instances where developers are like, oh my god, this is a nightmare, we have to like get this information out in some way. You know, are you following kind of what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, they did, you know, they did there was a big thing about crunch in the games industry not too long ago, and one of the big things was one of the big stories that came out of that was Mortal Kombat devs having to do research by looking at gore and shit, and not and like basically just having like PTSD after working on the game.
Yeah,
so things like that do happen, I think. But
I guess sometimes it would be, not that I'm changing my argument here, but I guess sometimes it'd be nice to see that happen before something comes out as opposed to after, because when it's after, I feel like for me it carries a little bit less weight. Can't speak for other people, obviously, but if you release some, like Cyberpunk is I mean, I hate to pick on Cyberpunk but it's easy, you know, it's an easy one to go with. There was nothing coming out of Cyberpunk regarding the quality of that game outside crunch, because we heard about the crunch leading up to the game. Like, everybody had heard about that. Oh, we have to delay it again. You know, so you assume, well, if you're delaying it, it's because it's not in a good space. No one anywhere had any idea that that game was going to come out in the way that it did until it came out. Once it came out and it started getting bad reviews, or it was starting to get ripped apart on like previous gen consoles and stuff, then that's when it became, oh man, wouldn't you know it, like, we just didn't have enough time and we had to, it's like, where was this shit before it came out?
Can I answer that?
Go ahead.
Not with complete certainty, but usually when you work in video games, you sign an NDA.
Okay.
And that NDA, I'm pretty sure, ends once the game is released.
You mean for the employees?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I guess what I'm trying to say, and maybe I'm being a little bit too like coy about the way I'm saying it, I want them to fucking like leak that shit before it happens, because that's what's happening when Jason Schreier gets these exposés. It's like it's not oftentimes like, well, I wouldn't say often, but in cases where something is known before it comes out, these people aren't like, oh, here's my Twitter handle and, you know, I'm this employee, ask me anything you want. No, it's like they know that it's in a bad shape, or that something isn't going according to plan, and so they let, like, okay, a good one right now, the only one that I'm aware of that's happening is the Halo Infinite. how like I think one of the developers, and I'm gonna ruin this story. I should probably look it up as I'm doing this. But like one of the developers had like this translation where he was talking about how the game's been kind of like a nightmare situation, but that game's not out yet. So I think like at this point, if the game came out and then we reference back to this, let me see if I can pull this up. Halo.
Well, here's the other thing too. While you're pulling that up, let me ask you this: at your job, would you risk going to someone to expose something? Would you risk your job to go do that? I'm not saying that with as like a leading question or anything. I'm asking you if that's something you would consider doing.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, on one hand, like I've never done that. This isn't me like backpedaling. I haven't done that. But when I worked at Blizzard, I kind of didn't really care enough to be like, gaming outlets, like, hear me, well, this is terrible. But I feel like if I knew that things were, and I didn't really work in development, so it's different. But I feel like if I worked on something where, just in my own conscience, I knew that what we were doing was wrong and it was immoral and we were scamming people, and that the communication that I got that I was aware of internally as an employee was like, yeah, we know this is going to be terrible, but we're going to do it anyway. Like, I just couldn't in good conscience. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to make a YouTube video or go on a live stream and say, hey, here's my name, I work for this company. But I would also I would be lying to myself if I felt like I wouldn't get that information out in some way. Like, hey, report this, and whatever credentials need to be verified to ensure that there's an accuracy so that this can hit the internet. Yeah, I'm game. And I would do it. Because I think that I feel like it's not exactly that's the right thing to do. I just feel people trust in the business and trust that the business is doing also what's in their best interest, even though it never is. But if I had a hand in that, I just couldn't sit there and then play fucking stupid after the thing came out and be like, oh man, like we were under such harsh working conditions, and man, you wouldn't believe it. Like we worked 50-hour work weeks, and man, it was terrible. Like, where was that beforehand? Why are you waiting till now? NDA? All right.
Yeah, I mean, you're a braver man than I, because I would be so scared of not being able to find more work afterwards.
Yeah, I'm also stupid, like in a way, because it's one of those things where, like, I get that it's not the smart thing to do, but I would probably do it. Like, I would probably do it, and I feel like that's where, and I feel like other people in some instances are doing that. Oh, I think I found this thing. But some people are doing that because that's how, whether it's Jason or someone else, that's how they get these man, I can't find this Halo thing. I was gonna say Halo Infinite.
I mean, I believe you.
Development
It's
hell.
not like I don't believe you.
Yeah, I mean, but the point is, just real quick, I forget exactly. I thought I'd be able to find it, but there was something. Let me see. I've got this thing from 2020. Nah, this isn't it. Well, the point is that there was an article that came out where someone had been talking about just how tumultuous the development was, and why, not exactly why, but you know, there was two things that kind of stuck out to me. One, it was that like the people that were leaving the project, like they were leaving because of clashes with, you know, management in some cases. You know, other times, like they were saying that Craig video with the orc, or not the orc, the brute that looked all terrible that people were criticizing. They were saying that game was ready to launch. Maybe not ready to launch, but like that was their build. Like hey, this is the go live build. And then when it got ripped to shreds, they were just like, oh, this is just one of our early builds, and we're actually still working on this. And then it got delayed, and then they lost the creative director. It's like, it sucks that it took them showing it to people, and for people to be like, what is this? This is garbage. It looks worse than the first Halo game. And then, but you know, internally they were like this is good enough, you know. And when this Reddit page that I can't find right now, when that came out, that person was close enough to the development of the game that they were just like, yeah, that thing that you guys saw and made fun of with Craig the Brute, that was it. So it's I think it happens, and that's our beloved Xbox with their Game Pass, and they could do no wrong because they bought Bethesda. Was it Bethesda? ZeniMax. Who did they buy? I guess they bought Bethesda.
Wait, who bought?
Microsoft?
Yeah, Microsoft did. Yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah, it just goes to kind of, I guess, demonstrate that, while it's not entirely related to gaming as a whole, something that I could find myself becoming very, very slowly becoming more cynical about as time goes on is that none of these companies care about you. They just care about
they don't
trying to get your money from you. But
they care about George Washington.
And I don't know if
you no, they don't even care about George Washington. They care about Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, they want the bench. So I don't know if you heard about that article or that story that came out about PlayStation's crossplay.
Oh, how they're charging people to do it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and because that Epic versus Apple like lawsuit is making all this stuff super public.
Yeah.
Like that would, I mean, that's not like I would say the straw that broke the camel's hump per se, but it was one of those. It was like seeing that it kind of solidified that idea in me that like, man, I really just kind of hope that all of this stuff that you power to the players and, I mean, it's GameStop, or play has no limits, and, we believe and stand with Black lives, we believe and stand with LGBT. You think that like there's a little bit of like integrity and,
nope.
What's the other word? It's not integrity, but authenticity behind it. And it just kind of, it really sucks that there isn't. And I think that's why it never works on me. It never works on me. And every time, and something that makes me grind my fucking teeth sometimes is when I listen to videos and people will read the PR statements from businesses like it matters at all. And you know what I'm talking about? Like if you're still following fighting game stuff, it was like, we here at Bandai Namco have decided that moving forward, we are no longer going to participate in blah, blah, blah events. We believe that players should be in a safe and healthy environment where it's like whatever you're reading, it's not what they actually fucking think. Right. And the fact that you're reading it means that you've already bought too far into it. I don't believe it. And it's just a matter of, I use my eyes. To quote Eris, I use my eyes and I look at it. And if I see a game and I look at it using my eyes, I make the determination, okay, that looks good. And then I'm at the point, I know you're in a different camp than me, but I'm at a point where if I feel like I look at something, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. Then I wait for it to come out. Fuck IGN, fuck GameSpot, all of them can go to hell. What I pay attention to are the YouTube reviews. And I'll find the lowest view count YouTube view channel I can find. And I listen to that person's review because they got no skin in the game. They are not trying to please anybody. They're not trying to make it big with, IGN or whatever game publication. They're just being like, hey, I spent my money on this thing. I'm going to tell you what I think. And I'm like, cool. I want to hear that person's thought. And if that person is like, this is good, then I'll watch one or two more. And if those maybe 3 total are like, yeah, this is good, then I'll get it. But if I don't get that, nope, can't do it. I can't pull the trigger.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. You're right. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of people buy into the hype of everyone else without having their own opinion, and I think that's kind of what causes a lot of things to happen and a lot of people to get pissed off. But it's funny, you brought up the Apple Epic legal battle that's ensuing. Mm-hmm. And can I read you an excerpt from today?
Go for it.
All right. An Apple attorney says, "We have in front of us a new set of images. And what is this screen showing?" And then Weisinger, who's the Epic representative, goes, "This is your matchmaking lobby." The attorney goes, "And we have a large yellow banana here, don't we, in a tuxedo?" Weisinger says, "Yes, that is Peely." The attorney says, "That's Peely?" Weisinger says, "Yes." Attorney goes, "And in fact, in the tuxedo, he's known as Agent Peely, correct?" Weisinger goes, "That's correct." Attorney goes, "We thought it better to go with the suit than the naked banana, since we are in federal court this morning." And then the attorney goes, and there might have been an implication that to show Peely without a suit would have been inappropriate. Don't you recall that? Weisinger says yes. And the attorney goes, is there anything inappropriate about Peely without a suit? Weisinger says, no, there's not. The attorney goes, if we could just put on the screen a picture of Peely, is there anything inappropriate about Peely without clothes? And Weisinger goes, it's just a banana, ma'am. So that's how that's going.
That was like really way more convoluted than it needed to be. It's a fucking banana. Just lead with that, man.
I just wanted to share that because that's how that's going.
That I've heard snippets. I haven't really been looking into it too in depth. The PlayStation thing stuck out to me about the crossplay. I mean, those. I mean, you know, I don't have any skin in the game as far as either side. I think they're both trash, to be honest. Yeah. But no, I think it is goofy to see things kind of unfolding in the way that you kind of described. I mean, but that's court, man. Like you gotta, you know, cross your T's, awful. Dot your I's. You know.
So I did want to get your take on something before we split.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the whole Jeff Kaplan leaving Blizzard?
You know, it's I think it's definitely the last like OG Blizzard guy. I mean, that's it. You know, that was the guy. Nobody else is working there anymore. That was a part of that original Blizzard team. I feel like it's funny because I'm still looking at this Halo thing, which is like another creative director leaves. You know, it's funny. The most I can really say about like how I feel about it honestly is like I think it's just indicative that the culture and the work environment that a lot of the, you know, Blizzard heads that built up what Blizzard is, it's just not for them anymore. And I don't want to sugarcoat it and say like they've grown apart from what it was. You know, it's probably that there's just a way that Activision has influenced the brand that they're just like, hey, I don't need to work here. You know, all of those guys clearly are rich, you know, because a lot of them are very high up in the company. They don't need to be there. And there's probably just, you know, when I worked there, and obviously I wasn't very high up at all, but when I worked there, I remember when we got the email that Activision and Blizzard merged. And it's not like super vivid in my brain, but it was also this moment where the email came through, and it was that corporate bullshit email you always get. But when we got it, like some of us like turned to each other, like we were sitting down next to each other, and we just turned. And we were just like, "Are we the baddies?" You know, it's like, what? This is weird. Like, Activision. Like, what does our company have in common with Activision? You know, and I think like one of the first things that happened shortly thereafter was they brought around, it wasn't Call of Duty. What game? It might have been Call of Duty, but they brought us some Call of Duty game. It might have been Call of Duty 4, which is funny to call it 4 because it's like, it's so roundabout now that like 4 makes it seem recent. It wasn't. But I think it was Modern Warfare, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was weird back then. And, you know, we started to see more and more, you know, changes that kind of happened. And, you know, it was, I don't know, it was just kind of like I saw it coming, and I got out of there like right as it started. I think like I got out of working at Blizzard a year after the merger. From my memory, I can't really remember anything that like, oh yeah, that's clearly Activision, because I didn't really know who Activision really kind of was in relation to Blizzard. But yeah, I mean, the last of the OGs are gone. You know, the only person that I really kind of cared about ever at Blizzard was Ben Brode. And he was at the company long after I left, but it was just because of Hearthstone, you know, and it seemed like he was a really passionate guy when it came to game design. But when he left, I was just like, you know, Mike Morhaime, I think, was already gone at that point. So, and honestly, you know, with what we've been talking about, it's very possible that Overwatch 2, assuming that isn't a major disaster when it launches, that Overwatch 2 is probably very much going to be just like loot box, you know, gameplay loop, microtransaction heavy. You know, how can we make the gameplay super flashy and very short so that we can get people back to these menus where they'll want to engage in making their characters look really cool and make even flashier sounds and images appear, and then they'll rinse and repeat. I don't know, but yeah, it's so funny. Like, I honestly, Blizzard is like such a dead company. It's like, it's so weird to even call it Blizzard. It's not. It's Activision. That's all it is.
Yep.
For people to be like, oh, World of Warcraft, who makes that? Activision makes that. It's like, they do. Like, Blizzard doesn't make that, because nobody that was at Blizzard is there that was making it. I think that's like a clear indicator, right? It's kind of like not exactly related to Blizzard and Activision, but it's kind of like, I felt like when Bernie Burns left Rooster Teeth, I was already like not following Rooster Teeth content at all, but when he announced on Twitter that he was no longer with the company, like, I can't.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I can't tell you, Elon, how fast like Blizzard, getting mixed up. Rooster Teeth just died in my head. Because for me, I was 14 years old when I saw that first episode of Red vs. Blue. You ever wonder why we're here? You know, and Church and Griff, and I can't remember the characters now, Sarge and Simmons, like, that playing off of the Halo 1 engine was just like, man, it was so magical. And to know that like Bernie was the architect that developed and brought that whole thing together, and worked on the shorts, of course, and was one of the main characters and really transformed Rooster Teeth. I don't give a shit that like Matt Hullum is there. I don't care that, I don't remember anybody's name anymore. Jeff Ramsey and there's one other person, Gus Sorolla. I don't care, because to me, like, they lost the guy. Like, they lost their dude. You know, to me, like, Bernie Burns is like the guy. Like, I don't care about Gavin or Barbara or any of the other people. Like, to me, he built that thing out of the spare bedroom of his apartment or his house. And he goes, hey, it's been a great journey. I'm moving on to something else. I'm like, cool, me too. And I mean,
I didn't even know he was gone. Did I say that already?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, he's no longer with the company.
Well, I had no idea. And I guess off stream we'll talk about Rooster Teeth stuff, because I got stories.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I don't know if I have too much else to say on the whole cost of gaming thing. I know, just to, you know, we've kind of hit about the point in a couple of roundabout ways. It's too high. It's not worth it. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get this out in video form, also talk with somebody about it as well. I wasn't really looking for somebody to be on the opposite side of this, because I feel like, not that I'm looking for people.
Is there an opposite side of this?
Well, I mean, like, I mean, I'm sure someone out there is like, sometimes when it comes to certain subject matter, I wouldn't mind having the opposite opinion. That can kind of like, it makes for an interesting discussion. But I think this is one of the few times I'm not exactly looking for someone to agree with me, but I think I was looking to get this, like, opinion out. And I just so happened to ask someone that was available, and they were already of the same mind. Like, yeah, it's not very good right now as far as the quality of work that's being put out. So, but and I think that if I did encounter somebody, you know, I don't want to be, you know, I used to talk to you about this when it came to Street Fighter, you know, podcast stuff. But like, I don't like to be overly negative, and I definitely don't like to try to like change somebody's opinion and be like, this is why you should hate this thing. But there is one person, and I know this person doesn't watch any of my content, so it's cool for me to mention them, but there's one person I know where like I went on kind of like the same tangent with them as I did with you, especially the one we had before we went live. And his opinion going into the conversation was like, oh, you know, I mean, you can take it or leave it as far as games go, like, you know, maybe. And I went off just like I did, same way, same energy. And he goes, yeah, I'm not going to get Resident Evil 8. Yeah, I'm not going to get that. I don't really care about this other thing. And I don't really want to change people's opinions. If you want to get those games and you want to support these companies, then fine. But you are getting scammed. It is a trick. And they are pulling the wool over your eyes and trying to put out the absolute worst, bare minimum thing that they can pass off to you in order to get your $60, now $70. And it won't work on me. And more so than trying to convince other people, I think I just wanted to talk and get it out. As far as like, this is trash, and I may have a PS5, but fuck you, Sony, if you think that I'm going to give you $70 for anything that you're putting out right now. You got to be crazy. Yeah.
Dude, I've been so happy just playing indie games, dude.
That's what I'm doing.
Indie games are what I like, and here's why. It's that I think is where the future's at, because they're not afraid to, take creative chances and do fun new stuff. Where like AAA games are no longer the here's this groundbreaking new way of thinking about a video game. It's like, how can we make every other video game like this one? So.
Yeah, and it's funny that you were accurate about that, man. I mean, that is, like I said, that was so fascinating, because it's not that I disagreed with you per se, but it's that was so kind of like forward thinking to be like I don't think you said this about Witcher per se, but like when Witcher came out, Witcher 3.
I've never played Witcher, so I don't know.
No, but I mean your sentiment about like everything being homogenized and like being very similar, because when Witcher came out in 2015, like there are games that are still trying to be Witcher. Like even now, like I remember Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain was trying to be Witcher. Like Assassin's Creed Origins, the game that I kicked off streaming with in 2017, was trying to be Witcher. I could see it, and when I was commenting on that when I was streaming, I was just like, oh, Ubisoft is trying hard to be Witcher in Assassin's Creed Origins, and that game came out 2 years after Witcher 3 was done. So there probably are games, and maybe that happened to Ubisoft. Hey, this is really great. I like where you guys are going with the Egyptian characters in Assassin's Creed. Do you think you can make it a little bit more like Witcher, though? Yep. Developers are like, I mean, kinda, I guess, maybe. Like, it's not really supposed to be like that, but I guess, I guess we could try to make it more like that. It's just, and just make the backdrop Egyptian,
And can I say something else that actually kind of caught me by surprise?
Sure.
Before I even get into that, I want to congratulate Ratchet and Clank for going gold. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart has gone gold as of today, so
doesn't that game come out like tomorrow?
June 11th.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, so what I was getting to is I recently bought this game called Warhammer Vermintide 2.
Okay.
It was a $30 game. I bought it for $7 because it was on a Steam sale. The game is super fun. I'm having a blast. You get 4 people, and you basically try to do this campaign, and you go around, and there's like endless enemies, and you just like mow them down. And every once in a while, there's a couple of special enemies that can hold you back, so you need to have a teammate come back for you to kill the enemy so that you move forward. I never put the 2 and 2 together until I was playing with a group of friends, and all of a sudden, this enemy just like lunged at me, and it was like just scratching at me on top of me, like mounted me, like doing a ground and pound type of thing. And to call it out, I went, "Oh, Hunter's got me." I was like, "Wait a minute."
Nice.
Holy shit, this game is just Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just Left 4 Dead, and it's everything exactly like it. There's one that spits up on you, there's one that can pull you from far away, there's one that grabs you and pulls you away, there's one that mounts you. It's like, oh man, it's literally just Left 4 Dead.
I think
different setting.
I feel like you're right in that, like, and I'm really happy that you're saying that you're doing this, which is that you're exploring indie games. I think that I'm gonna try to take a page out of that. I mean, my version of that before talking to you today is a little bit more like aggressive, in the sense that I was telling friends that I knew, I was like, I'm not buying anything if it costs more than $40. Like, it's just like, I know that's a different way of saying I want to support indie, but it's just like, if that game is higher than $39.99, I'm not playing it, because it might not work, and it's just, but hey, I don't know if you did, I don't think you had played this, but Curse of the Dead Gods, it's a roguelike. I'm not really playing it. Yeah. Oh, you say you do have it?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm when I say I'm playing this, I'm done. It's like, I beat the game, and I was going through some hard mode stuff, and it's just got to a point where I'm just like, like I don't need to beat it. I already beat the game, but I'll turn it on and try to go through a run here and there. But sometimes what I'll do in the PlayStation Store, and I was kind of doing this a little bit earlier, is I just go to PlayStation Store and I go to PS5 or PS4, preferably PS4, and I just scroll down and I just look at games. And every so often, much like we were saying, I'll look at the cover art and I'll go, "Ooh, what's that?" and click on it, and I'll read a little bit of the description, see what the price is. And I feel like if I see $59.99, I'm a bigot, dude. Like, I immediately see it, and I'm just like, okay, it's definitely not worth that. If I don't know anything about it and it's $60, it's probably not worth it. So, let me read it and watch a gameplay video or something.
Yeah.
So.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh fuck. Well, I guess whatever was in my brain is gone now, so I apologize. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. If you want to start with that, take a look at Steam, man. There's so much cool stuff on Steam, and there's so much stuff that is indie and not necessarily AAA, and even like some of the older AAA stuff comes out so cheap. But something I do want to say is, like, even though we say like indie games, oh, they cost nothing to make and they don't make money, blah blah blah, that's not true. Look at a game like Stardew Valley. I don't know if you've heard of Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was made by one guy. And he made this ridiculously crazy game that everybody loves. It's not for me, unfortunately. I bought it and I tried playing it. It's not for me, sadly, but that's okay. But I have a lot of friends that are super happy playing it. So, like, it doesn't. At first, I thought it was like, oh, bigger, better games. This is great. But I think we're getting to a point where bigger and better games are becoming so homogenous because they don't want to take that risk to do something spectacular with it. So we have to turn to these indie games, and the stuff that people are doing with minimum resources is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
I'm gonna be on the lookout, man. I'm like I said, it's cool that we had this conversation as well, because like I said, I think I was talking to somebody recently, and I said to him, I do not know. This is no shit. I do not know when I'm gonna buy a AAA game, because the only two that are on my mind, and one of them I will not buy, is hey Luis, have a good one, man. That was cool. That was cool that he swung by. But yeah, I was gonna say is Ratchet and Clank. That's the first one that I want to get, but I'm not gonna buy I'm not gonna get it for $70. You know. Yeah. And then the second one is Horizon Forbidden West. That's the other one. But I already know that's not going to cost $70 because it's also coming out on the PS4. So there's no way it's going to be $70. So I already know it's $60. And we'll see how I feel about gaming around the time that game comes out, because I do like Horizon. But, you know, as much as I like Horizon, I like my time more. And yep. I feel like, you know, I mean, I know you know this. I have a big, huge Horizon poster in my place. You know, it's one of the games I was really looking forward to. I was excited, you know, for that series or for that franchise. I like it, but I just feel like I don't care if the first one was good, because the first one cements itself as one of the strongest games I've played. But who knows? Maybe Forbidden West is just garbage trash. It doesn't work when it comes out. Like, the map is super small. The story's crazy short. We don't know. We don't know, and I can't just sit up here and be like, oh, well, they did great in 2016, so they'll definitely, you know, do the same thing in 2021. Maybe they won't, you know. So, but yeah, I think as far as AAA stuff goes, it's like Ratchet, which I'm not getting, and then Horizon, which is on the fence.
Oh, do you know what the one game that that's really hurting that I can't play that is exclusive to PlayStation 5? The one game that I really want to play. Do you know what that game is?
I mean, it's not Demon Souls?
Nope.
Godfall?
Nope. That's not a PlayStation exclusive.
Astro?
That's on, Epic Game Store. Nope.
I got nothing.
It's called. It costs $20.
Okay.
It's called Destruction All Stars.
Destruction All Stars. Okay.
Yes, that game got my attention hard, and I really want to play it. And it looks like so much fun.
I'll look this up.
And that's the one game that like has me hurting that I can't get my hands on a PlayStation 5 to play.
Destruction.
Yeah, it's like it's basically like Twisted Metal if it was a little bit more cartoony.
Okay. Let's see.
But there's like, it's like combat where like you hop in vehicles, you hop out of vehicles, you can like parkour, and you can go around punching people, you can dodge cars. It's
I did see a video. Okay, I did see this once.
I really want to play this game, and I'm pissed that I don't have it.
Really? This is okay. Yeah, I guess it is only.
It looks cool as hell. It looks so much fun, and this was the game where like I saw the announcement trailer. I'm like, I want that, and then I saw they had a couple of minutes of gameplay footage where they played like an entire game, and I was still like, after I saw it, I was like, whoa, I still want to play that. That usually doesn't happen. After I see gameplay footage, I'm like, I'll wait for the next one.
I'm watching the video now. I do remember seeing this. I think it's when they announced like Miles Morales and all the like PlayStation stuff.
It was with the big PlayStation 5 announcement.
Yeah.
And
you know,
this was a game that, here's the thing too about this game is this game was supposed to be $70. What happened is they delayed the game and then they released it for free on PlayStation Plus. It's the Xbox thing.
Wait, they released this for free and I didn't get it?
Yeah, it was for free for, I think.
Oh, okay. It was probably like around the time I couldn't get a PS5.
Yeah, it was February. But I still put it in my library so that when I do get a PlayStation 5, it's there.
Oh, so you did get it during that free window?
I don't have a PlayStation 5 to play it, but it's in my library, in my account. So whenever I do get a PlayStation 5, it'll be there for me.
Huh. Okay. Nice thinking.
But man, this game looks so fucking cool.
Really? Okay. That's... Huh. I mean, I watched the gameplay trailer for it just now. It looks... I don't know. I think I'm in a weird mood where, like, nothing really looks good to me. But
It's fine.
No, because, like, I think I'm just in a slump. It has nothing to do with the game industry. Something slightly unrelated to gaming, and we'll hop off the stream here in a second. I think I told you a little bit earlier. I'm saving for buying a house. So, like, I'm literally counting my paychecks. I've got pretty much the money together to start looking. I'm just kind of waiting for my job to kind of get a few things in order as far as if we're going to be back on campus or not. And if we aren't, then I'm going to hit the ground running, trying to get a house.
Where are you going?
I have 5 areas. I'm not looking right now per se, but I almost feel like I shouldn't say, but fuck it. Okay. The 5 areas are Cedar Park, Round Rock.
Oh, okay, so you're staying here.
Yeah. Sorry. Like, I'm not going to move like out of city or out of state per se, but like, it'll be just in the surrounding area. But, yeah, I need to know because, like, obviously if I'm living like 45 minutes away and they're like, you got to be on campus every day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I'll be like, ugh. It's like, fuck. I already have a tough time rolling out of bed when I'm working remote. So, but if they're like, oh yeah, we're doing remote all day, I'm gonna call like a realtor and be like, hey, help. You know, like I need to start looking like right now, you know, before this housing market. So yeah, but that's the thing that's really on my brain right now. So even though I can sit up here and be like, oh, I can buy $70 games, dude, anytime I spend like $15 on something I hadn't planned for, it's like a fucking knife to the stomach. Like somebody, like I went out to eat, like I went down to Congress Avenue. It's not called Congress Avenue, maybe just Congress downtown. And I went to go eat, and when they brought the bill and I paid for it, I was just like, ugh. Like just a little bit. I was like, ah.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel, and here's why. I don't think I told you this, but I bought a little bit of Dogecoin.
Oh yeah. All right.
And I bought like $200 worth of Dogecoin, and I divested, and I came out with about $2,000 worth of Dogecoin.
Oh, okay.
When I cashed in, I got $2,000. So I got like 1,000% on my investment.
Damn, son.
And here's the thing too, is I've been saving because I've been needing to save $5,000 before the beginning of May, and thanks to that money from Doge, I was able to do it. Here's why. I bought Formula 1 tickets.
Okay. Nice.
5,000 smackaroos to have a seat right above the pit lane, open bar, food included, and I'm in the middle of the action, and I get to hang out in the area where the drivers and the teams get to hang out. So I'm basically I saved up $5,000 so I could have a weekend where I can act like a rich asshole.
Nice, dude. That's cool. I dig it.
And that's one of those things where like I wanted to do it. And when I heard that there's a possibility that Formula 1 is no longer coming to Austin after this year, I was like, shit, I gotta do it now. So I did.
Okay. Yeah. That's sick.
So I know exactly what you mean because I had to save up the 5,000 smackaroos. And if it wasn't for the fact that I got lucky on Dogecoin, I probably wouldn't have it, to be honest.
You know, I'll say this publicly. You know, Roddy and I did a stream where we were talking about what were we talking about? Oh yeah, it was the GameStop stock situation when that was going crazy. And somebody I remember came by the stream, the Real Talk, and they were just like I said, there's a particular stock that like I'm not talking about, but I'm gonna invest in.
What was it?
Sorry, somebody, Silly Goose Network came by my stream, and so the title of my stream is called The Cost of Gaming, and this person came by the stream and they said the cost of gaming ? You don't get laid. Oh man, that made me laugh. They got me.
That is good. That is really funny. And you know what's really funny? I've been playing less video games and I'm dating someone now, so maybe he's right.
Oh, is that the person you texted me about the other day?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe he's right.
Oh, man, I just thought it was funny. But no, there was stock that I invested in that I didn't want to talk about on that stream at the time, and I'll say it now. It's completely irrelevant, but it's just because somebody was like, oh, you know, tell us what it is. And I was like, nope, because I don't want people to invest in it, and then it goes like sideways, and then it's just like, but you said, and I'm like, nope, I didn't. And it was a cannabis stock. Yeah, that was what it was. So I invested in that, and it's not doing particularly well right now, but all right,
and
that's
wait until dude, it's good to have because once it gets federally,
I know that's why I'm about it.
Baby.
Yeah, if that's what
baby.
That's what I'm waiting for. All right, but that's it. I think I got out all the thoughts I wanted to say. The cost of gaming is too damn fucking high. Don't buy these bullshit $70 games. They're trash. And any other things you want to say? Closing.
Buy things that you have fun with. And you know, I'm playing the Guilty Gear beta right now, and we were talking about how it sucks that we're paying so much for games and they don't work at launch. Well, guess what? Beta just launched. I can't even log into the servers. All right.
Yeah, dude. I have a PS5. It's not, well, the PS5 I'll say is cool. Whatever. I mean, I'm like the dumbest person to have a PS5 because I'm not fucking buying these $70 games. But
yeah, dude, if you want to get rid of it, let me know.
Yeah, I'll hit you up. All right. I'm out of here. Elon, thanks for swinging by, dude. And yeah, if you want to talk a little bit more about some stuff off stream, I need to get a protein shake. And then after that, I'm probably going to hit the sack.